about my love? Wasn't it enough? Just let me know so I can hold.
Ohio State players received $20 million in NIL. It just screams that, right? Let's go through some of the names. Caleb Downs. Do you think he was cheap?
No.
Hell no. 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗶𝗲𝗀𝗀𝘀. Hell no.
Especially to pull him away from that loaded Ole Miss team. Come on.
Will Howard, maybe, but you're going to have to pay him. I mean, I thought that was the best pickup for any team last year. I think he just fits what Ohio State wants to do. But those three guys' names alone being Ohio State, hell no, brother. And then just go down the line of receivers that they got there.
I mean, then you also have to consider all the seniors that they retained from, they stayed for their senior year, right? They didn't go to the draft. You have 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗶𝗲𝗀𝗀𝘀, Travion Henderson, Jack Sawyer, Denzel Burke, all those guys, probably, top 3 round, roughly for most of those guys. And they all stayed. I mean, you had to have offered them something, especially in today's day and age. People, when people skip bowl games, they're clearly not going to stick around just for the love of the game or just because they have a good team. Like they want their money. Like that's just the reality of it. Like whether people like it or not, the players are going to do what's best for their bank accounts. Can't really blame them in some sense, but like they all got paid. And you even bring up like Julian Sayin, like to come in from Alabama, despite them bringing in Kalen DeBoer, and then you even have the other quarterback they brought in, Aaron Noland. Like you bring in 2 of the top quarterbacks in this class, along with Will Howard, another quarterback, right? You keep Devin Brown around, Lincoln Kienhold's still there. Like you have a lot of talent in that quarterback room. You're telling me that you ain't got to pay a pretty penny to keep him there. Like,
and let's just, not go over the receivers that they got there. I mean, one we can name off the top is Jeremiah Smith, who was the number 1 recruit nationally last year,
which is unheard of for a receiver.
Not in his state. Out of Hollywood, Florida, Jeremiah Smith was the number 1 guy in the country, and they snagged him. Do you think that he didn't cost a little bit of bread to come over?
He had to have been a lot. And then you even look at the 2 5-stars they got in the class before that, and Brandon Inniss and Carnell Tate. Like, you have so many guys in that wide receiver room who they could go anywhere else in the country and start. I mean, you even look at like Jameson Williams, right? Couldn't quite crack the lineup at Ohio State. He goes to Bama, and what does he do, right? Like,
I'm still just trying to figure out how Ohio State's transfer rate was number 9 in the country, having 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗀𝗀𝘀𝗀, Caleb Downs, Julian Sayin, and Will Howard, and Keenan Nelson coming over. Like,
didn't have enough quantity because some of these other teams, like I know my A&M and Colorado, they're bringing in 20 or 30 kids this year just through the portal alone. I mean, because A&M because they had a coaching change, but Colorado because, despite what he says, Prime utilizes the portal more than high school recruiting. Like, it's just crazy. It's $20 million, man. Like, it's a lot.
Yeah, man. That's nasty, nasty work. It's nasty work. Oh, man. You know what, man? This is man, it's not a lot to say. I mean, you're going to spend money, and it's only going to get a little more gross here in the years to come with this NIL thing. But 20 mil spent on NIL to get the players that you got in the portal, to get the players that you got out of high school. That receiving core is just going to continue to eat. I just don't get why you didn't spend a little bit of that bread to keep Julian Fleming on your team. Like, I think just having him in that wide receiver room makes you guys better, because you're bringing in Carnell Tate and Jeremiah And, you know, you hope that those guys are everything that you think that they can be, but
presence.
𝗕𝗂𝘀𝗶𝗲𝗀𝗀 is still that guy, you know.
Yeah.
So, but him and Julian Fleming together would have been those guys, and I think that would have been so much more helpful for a guy like Will Howard. And you know, on top of that, you just lost Cade Stover, who was my number 2 tight end in this class. Like, people don't understand how important Cade Stover was, you know, to this team. I mean, who's their tight end now?
Not sure.
Let me see.
I do know though that Will Howard's favorite target at Kansas State this past year was Ben Sinnott, and he was their leading receiver at Kansas State. Like, I get that a lot of that was scheme oriented with Colin Klein, but I mean, that's what he's used to. That's what he's comfortable with. I mean, he never had the same kind of firepower out wide at Kansas State, right? In Manhattan, you just have Ben Sinnott and you have, you know, some solid running backs, right? You have DJ Giddens and you have Deuce Vaughn, but now you're moving up to having the best wide receiver room in all of college football. You're having Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins in your backfield, 2 top 5 running backs in the entire country, an offensive line that is suddenly a lot more experienced because they lost a ton going into the 2023 season. I mean, first of all, Will Howard set up very, very well, but that tight end position is going to be important because Stover was there and he was really solid for a while, and Will Howard relies on his tight ends.
Man, I love Ben Sinnott. I do. He was my number 2 for a while, but like, I slept on Cade Stover hard. I did, man. I ain't even gonna front. Cade Stover was like, because I consider blocking like half and half with catching as far as a tight end is concerned. Maybe a little bit more high than like everybody else does, but I could gush over Cade Stover all day, but that dude is an ex-convict when he plays, man. And he looks like one too. But G. Scott Jr. is going to be their tight end. He had 10 receptions, 70 yards, and a touchdown last year. So he's going to be their number 1 this year for sure. So looks like he, you know, I just checked his Instagram and stuff. Looks like he's already working out with 𝗕𝗂𝘀𝗶𝗲𝗀𝗀 and stuff like that and getting right for this season. He looks like a smaller guy, though. He looks like a wide receiver.
Huh. Well, he won't be facing any double teams given how that wide receiver room looks. I mean, I'm sure Chip Kelly will be able to scheme him open. I mean, you're looking at one of, whether we like him or not, one of the best, brightest offensive minds and play callers that college football has seen over the last decade. And he's going to know how to get his weapons the ball in their hands. And I have no doubt that he has plans for using Scott as his tight end. I mean, you have to, you know, give Will Howard some easy passes, and you got to give him a big bodied target, you know, who can get mismatches for you, especially over the middle of the field. And it's good to give those wide receivers a break because they're going to be doing a lot.
Facts. Hey, man, shout out to the chat, everybody that's still with us, man. I know a lot of you guys aren't college football people, but if you subscribe to this channel, you should already know how we roll by now. I don't, you know, at the end of the day, I don't care what you care about.